Hello and welcome to Rain Radio, where we have juicy conversations that lead to powerful transformations. We are your hosts. I'm Naomi Calderon.
And I'm Lila Sage, and today we are talking about desire. And, okay, I don't have to tell you how excited I am, because I tell you every time we get to this part. So, grab your drink and your journal, put on your crown, and let's chat. Did you even get a drink before this call today?
I did. I've got some water. Super exciting. I had my lemon water earlier, but, I've been on calls since 6 o'clock this morning, so.
Same. And so the matcha mug is empty, and I, too, have moved back to water. I know, it's sad, but I'm fully caffeinated. I will not be needing more matcha today. So desire.
Yeah. That's a pretty big, broad topic, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that we've talked about in the past, and part of why this seemed like a great topic to be bringing in this time and space, is we, especially as women, I think, maybe I'm wrong because I'm a woman, so that's the only experience I have to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
But I think especially as women, we sometimes put our own desires on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
Life gets busy, especially women who have children.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many other demands that we sometimes forget to put time and attention on what we desire. I'll do it later. My kids come first. But I have this thing, my job, my business, my husband, my life, my fill in the blank. And we've talked in the past about being busy, but it's not just the busyness, I don't think, that keeps us from really putting our attention on what we desire. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly as a mom and someone who typically puts whoever I'm in romantic relationships with ahead of me. It is a weird dynamic for me, though, because I look at relationships and partnerships of any sort and families with my lens of we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to deliberately remember that not everybody looks at the world through that lens and behave accordingly.
That alone is a good topic for another episode, but just FYI. The lens we look through.
Yeah. Yes, and yes.
But so how have you seen the lens you look through impact, either positively or negatively, your, not just your desire, but your ability to put time, attention, and energy on your desires?
So desire for me is an interesting thing because I turned my desire dial down to like 0.01 a few decades ago. Mm-hmm. And so lately, I have been noticing that I am actually experiencing desire. Before, it was all desire in my head, and I couldn't feel any of it in my body because I had turned it down so low.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
Question: how did it show up in your head? What did that? Was that just like, oh, it would be really great to fill in the blank, or what was different for you? What's the difference to you about it being in your head versus feeling it.
Okay. So I think it was, so that y'all get an idea of how it works in my head, there's a thought traffic jam right now. There are 4 sentences trying to come out of my mouth at one time. So I guess there were like levels of desire that I would allow to happen. So like basic survival things. Okay, so I was displaced with my kiddos for about 4 or 5 years. We were not in our own home, but we were sharing space with other people. So we slept in the park homeless, but we did not have our own living space. And so I remember times where I could feel the visceralness of my desire in my body, but it was more of I'm fed up with this situation and I need a change feeling versus a couple of weeks ago, I went car shopping and had the most delightful time staring at Volkswagens, test driving Volkswagens, and sitting my butt in brand new Nissans. Not sponsored. We'll take a free car if either of those companies would like to gift me one. Particularly interested in a partnership with Nissan for an entirely different reason. But the desire for something that the word superfluous comes up, the desire for something that's like a bonus, something that's just going to be delicious and feel good.
That's not a necessity.
The desire, yes. Versus, yes, the desire to like get out of pain. Those are like 2 separate type feelings for me. And one just feels sort of like excitement, but it's not, it's a grounded excitement is how I'll put it. And the other one is more of a gut-wrenching demand of the universe. Was that a clear answer?
Yes. I think so.
I wasn't sure.
At least of your process and kind of understanding how you experience that. Some of what I hear in that too, and at least for myself, is, am I going through this from a logical place? Okay, well, I've got to get my bills paid, and not only got to, but I want to. I want to get my bills paid, and I want to get my debt paid off, and someday I want to have a different car, and the logical process of these are the things I, quote, need. Well, and these are the things I want, and I list them out, but there's not an emotional involvement. There's not a physical connection.
Yes.
And whether it's of something I want, like a tangible Nissan, or I want to feel free in my body, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a tangible something that you can purchase somewhere, but that desire might be, I want to be able to walk down the street and feel safe. I want to be able to rock my little black dress even if I'm a size 22. Whatever that is for somebody, the desire can be there, and it doesn't have to be I want to be able to afford fill in the blank.
Thanks for bringing that forward.
Yeah. Well, and why do you, why do you think it is as women? Because you said you had dialed yours down. I think that's a really, for me, that's a great way of looking at it. Spinal Tap, Volume 11. dialing it down, muting it. For me, it's like sticking it in a box and shoving it up on a closet shelf somewhere way in the back that you can't reach. But whatever way you look at desire, why do you think as women especially, people tend to disconnect from, ignore, dial down their desire?
Because we're socialized to. Because we're naturally nurturing, and so we sort of lean towards taking care of other people. Because it goes back to because we're socialized to, because we're taught from a very young age that who we are is not okay and we want to be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that trains us away from our voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then in our society, we don't typically encourage, especially girls, to know who they are and know what they want, and for that to be important and to matter.
Yeah, to even just be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not even always acceptable, let alone important.
Yeah. So it's interesting when you say we've been socialized and we're by nature nurturers. I believe both of those statements to be true. Now, my curiosity is the essence of someone who nurtures the same thing as the essence of someone who puts their desires on the back burner?
No.
Because that's a little bit what I hear in that, well, we're nurturers. Sometimes I wonder, do we use that as an excuse, a scapegoat, frankly, a BS reason? Why?
I think that they go together. I think the fact that we tend to be naturally nurturing, not all of us are. Some of us are like, me first.
Yeah, that's me.
But I think the fact that we are naturally nurturers allows us to be socialized into putting other people's desires and requirements above our own or in front of us.
So it goes back to society. Fuckers. So there is that socialization aspect even in that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of conditioning.
Yes. And some of it's our own doing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mine was my own doing. I am a spoiled only child. You've heard me say it. You've heard me refer to myself as an orphaned only child. I'm spoiled. My family took really good care of me, and I grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Chicago, and the people on the street took very good care of me. Like, I wasn't scared walking down the street in my neighborhood because I felt protected, provided for, and taken care of. So me turning down my desire was an internal choice. Mm-hmm. It was due to something that wasn't happening, actually, that in response to that, I developed a defense mechanism of there's no point in wanting it anyways because I can't have it. Mm-hmm. And then I just made that broad spectrum across desire. Don't want things. You're not going to get it. You're going to cry about it for 3 years, and you're still not going to get it. Mm-hmm.
Suck it up, sister, right?
Right. So some of it can be societal conditioning, and some of it is our own internal conditioning.
And I would imagine that it's not always an either or, that there's probably, if we've got some internal conditioning that we've created, it may be a case of both as well, because we're inundated with social conditioning from all sorts of angles and aspects and people that we don't even realize. It's so unconscious in our culture.
Absolutely.
And especially and it can be seen very differently depending on where, even here in the U.S., where you grew up, as to how strong that condition, or what direction that conditioning takes.
I agree.
So a question I have for people listening is, when's the last time you really sat down and looked at not just stuff you want, oh, I want to do this, I want to be able to take a vacation, but your heart's desires? And when you hear that, do things come up, or do you go, I don't even know what that means? Because my guess is there might be a few people who are listening who are like, I don't even know what that means. I'm just trying to get through today. I'm trying to get through this last 4 months. I'm trying to survive whatever's going on right now.
Yeah.
Never mind desire. Desire? Who's got time for that? Who's got energy for that? So, what is helpful when you are in that space where you're like, what? What's desire?
I started asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
Regina Thomashower, also known as Mama Gina, has a practice that she does with her students, and it is outlined in her latest book. That's called The Holy Trinity. And it's 3 desires, 3 brags, and 3 gratitudes. And I restarted that practice probably about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it in a specific journal, and I was flipping through trying to find my page recently, or trying to find a blank page to start the next practice on recently. And I saw, I desire to feel desire. From like January, or maybe even sometime last year. I don't remember when the last time I had revisited the practice was. And I was like, well, it's working, because I really want that Jetta. I really want to grow my business, and I really want to get like lots of people to come to happy hour, and. So, yeah.
So is a want the same thing as a desire?
That's lazy verbiage for me.
Okay, just wanting to check in. Because for some people it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Just is how they relate to it. But I just wanted to check in with you if it is the same.
My understanding of the definition of want, the original definition of want, is that it actually means lack, and it's really a word that would be helpful for me to take out of my vocabulary. I'm lazy sometimes.
Okay. Choice is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So having that practice, now sometimes, and the people who like affirmations are going to just cringe at what I'm about to say. I think that practice sounds great. It also sounds a little bit, for me, feels like it could be with affirmations where it's like, okay, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. I can repeat that over and over and over and over. For those of you who didn't catch the SNL reference, Google that. And it's not necessarily going to feel like truth to me. So if somebody chooses to take on this practice, if you've been disconnected or dialed down in your desires, how does that help connect them to what they desire?
So I think that if someone is asking to have their desire awakened or to turn up the dial on their desire, that could be what goes into that practice. So if I desire to know what desire feels like, if it's true for you, just like with affirmations, they need to be true for you. Otherwise, they're just screaming into the void. The other thing that came up for me is do your sacral chakra work. Or get with someone like myself or Naomi who can do it with and for you. But this was not an overnight thing. It was not a switch that flipped for me. I have been looking at healing my relationship with desire for a very long time. Decade minimum. I didn't even realize that I had turned the dial down. I just knew that there were not things that I really, truly desired the way that I hear other people talk about it. And
that's interesting in and of itself.
And the more that I did research and studied things like Think and Grow Rich and the Science of Getting Rich, and Abraham talks all about vibrations and feelings, and they just weren't there. And I actually asked my mentor, I was like, all right, so we're doing this Bob Proctor thing, and we're talking about, having a burning desire. And when I hear you talk about your goals, I see that burning desire. But I don't see it for myself with my own goals. And I was like, how do I create that? What do I do? And I realized in the conversation with her that ask was genuine enough that I felt the desire turn up in that conversation. The universe was like, here's something for you to desire. And I was like, yes, I really actually feel that in my jellies. That is a Bolt reference. And if you haven't seen the cartoon movie Bolt, do yourself a favor. Take 90 minutes and some popcorn and enjoy yourself. But yeah, the first time that I can say that I had a genuine desire, that I understood that this is desire, this is what it feels like, it's like 6 weeks ago.
Oh, and wow. Tell us about that experience.
It was in response to my asking. It was that conversation that I was having with my mentor where I asked her, she was saying she's building a log cabin, she's growing her business, she's buying a Tesla, and you can feel it. And she was talking about the women that she's bringing onto her team, and she's crying. I don't have that degree of feeling about anything. Share with me the wisdom of your ways. And one of the things that came up for me is I want to be able to maintain my lifestyle regardless. like regardless of anything else that's going on in my world. And I want that through my healing arts practice. I want my healing arts practice to be my full-time livelihood, because not only do I enjoy it so much, but the change that I get to see happen in people's lives when working with them, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, more of this, please.
I love what you said about that your desire is to have that no matter what the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes, based on the conversations I have with women, and also in my own life, sometimes we, without realizing it, put these imaginary conditions on it. Well, I want this to be my thing, and then there's a belief that, but that's only going to be true when the economy's good. That's only going to be true when, fill in the blank. And most of that's unconscious stuff. But again, that's the conditioning piece. Well, I can't really expect my business to sustain me when the entire economy has tanked. Really? When did you decide that? Well, I can't really expect my lifestyle to continue exactly how I see it and desire it to if I'm going through health struggles. Is there an except when on the back end? I think that's an important piece for people to look at. And all I can hear is your voice in my head is, do you now destroy and uncreate it? Someday, maybe I'll destroy and uncreate those except whens. So are you putting limitations on your desires?
Or conditioned, which I guess can be similar.
Mm-hmm. What would happen if you did just, I hear so much, well, for me, my response to you saying it the way you said it was like, oh, wow. So to me, there was freedom in it. There was truth in it. There was, and there wasn't this aspect of, I don't know about anybody listening, but occasionally when I start looking at the things that I desire or the things I want or the things I'm creating or the affirmations I'm saying, there's this energy of, oh, cross my fingers, I hope, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think anytime, anybody that you listen to who does any kind of manifesting work, there's always this act as if. Now, if somebody says, go act as if you are the billionaire, doesn't mean go out and, bounce a check buying a Tesla, because,
Yeah.
But it's what habits, what thought patterns, what type of actions would they take to move things forward? How would I think if I were a Fortune 500 CEO? What things would I be doing? What things would I be spending my energy on instead of wasting my energy on? And when you say it the way you said it, there was just truth in it, as though it is right now. It's not an I desire from a, gosh, I really hope this happens. What I heard was desire, and this is what I am creating.
Oh, that's good, because that's exactly it. It's an embodied desire.
Mm-hmm.
And almost as if it was a demand, which is good stuff, because I've been asking about those demands. How do I make a demand of the universe? Tell me everything. The universe says, here you are. Here's how you do it. So I'm going to tell the internet all my business. I was looking at my relationship status changing. And the thing that I thought was, I want to be able to afford my house, no matter who I'm in relationship with, whether I'm in a relationship or not. And it wasn't like oh, you're right. It wasn't an, oh, I hope I'm going to be. It was a, I'm doing this. I am absolutely doing this. And so regardless of what's happening in my actual relationship, whether we stay together or not, that desire hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
That is like, I feel like one of those little mind-blown emojis right now. Because my finances, you've known me long enough to know how my finances have shifted over the last few years. But also, I said earlier in this episode that I was displaced with my 3 children for years. And I really, that's not an option ever again. And so I think all of those things, all of the changes that I've been able to create, all of the healing that I've done of my relationship with money and my relationship around desire has gotten me to this space where in that conversation, I can go from asking, what does a burning desire look and feel like, to telling her, well, I really just want to be able to maintain our lifestyle no matter what my relationship status is, and feeling that like in my body, in my heart, in my shoulders, in my gut, and then being like, oh, I'm doing this, and brought on 2 new clients shortly thereafter.
Well, and I think for anyone who's listening who is having money struggles, I think that's, and you and I have talked about this multiple times in very, different aspects. It can be really easy to fixate on the money. I just need an extra $500 a month. I just need, and usually that's what we throw out there. I know I have done this in the past, and of course everything being freaking retrograde right now, some of it's showing up again. It's like, oh God, that same shit. What the hell? But is this just let me get by? I just want to get by. Can I just get this? And we settle. I have settled in the past for the bare minimum, whether it's in, oh God, when I look back at past relationships and how I allowed myself to be treated by whoever I was with, whether it was in income, whether it's in friendships, whatever it is, if there's a settling and a getting by, it's like, you know what, it's not as bad as it used to be, so this is okay. Well, that's not really where desire lives,
Right.
Getting by is not typically, but sometimes it's a stepping stone, right?
Yes, absolutely. So what came up for me as you were sharing that is, of course, that's going to be what you desire when you're exhausted. So when I was living with an ex in a toxic relationship, and that living situation wasn't the best either, obviously, my deepest desire was to just have me and my kiddos in our own space, which sounds like a mediocre desire in the grand scheme of I could be asking for a mansion. But to go from sharing space with someone else who doesn't want you there and you don't want to be there to my own 2-bedroom apartment with my babies and just us, that was massive desire for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't pay your cell phone bill this month, then desiring to pay your cell phone bill, I think that's a super legit desire. I just want to pay my cell phone bill every month with these. I just want to pay my rent every month with these. There was 2 years. There was a year where I was 2 months behind every month in my rent. Being able to pay my rent on time was a desire at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's where we are and where we're going. And sometimes desire is an interesting thing when I've been told that I have no income ceiling. I've been told by a bunch of healers that, like, my ability to earn is in my hands. Some people have ceilings, some people don't. I don't.
I don't think I want to know. Sorry for that outburst, but that's what showed up. I don't think I want to know. Anyway, go ahead. Mm-hmm. You don't have a ceiling.
It's not always fun knowing you don't have a ceiling and then earning below the poverty line. You're like, what on earth?
Well, right.
So I don't think it's fun knowing either. But so I don't have an income ceiling, okay, great. But I'm not asking for $80,000 a month. Someone whose mailing list I'm on is like, I'm on track to earn $1 million this month, and I would love it if you would help me reach that target. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for $5,000 a month, and I'm asking for $5,000 a month right now because that would allow me to maintain our family's lifestyle with or without another human being in my world with income.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where I'm stopping. That's just what's next.
That's, I think, the important piece is even if you are at the point, and trust me, I get this, at the point where it's like, I just want to be able to pay my fucking phone bill. Okay, now I just want to be able to pay my fucking phone bill on time. You know, these may be baby steps. And I think if all we can see is I just want to be making $2,000 a month. I just want to be making $5,000 a month. Especially if our earning potential is so high, if we're like Lila and we have no ceiling. It's if you are in the space where you are taking baby steps of desire and you're looking at, okay, I just want to stop the phone calls from collections and be able to pay my bills. Okay, I just want to, whatever that is for you. Maybe it's, I just want to stop attracting assholes. You know, maybe it's a baby step. Maybe the baby step is, I just want to be able to recognize when I have attracted an asshole.
Yeah.
So I can say
sooner
that
rather than later.
Like on first meeting. That would be super great.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that is for you. Maybe the desire starts small, but it's like you're saying, you're not stopping there. It's not like you're going to be like, okay, I'm at $5,000 a month. I'm good. I'm never growing my business beyond that.
I got big dreams.
Right? That's and that's I think where the desire comes in. Are you allowing yourself to dream? And are you allowing yourself to dream without the censoring? I was working with someone on what they were wanting to create, and every single, and it was what they were creating in their business, every single thing, whether I brought it up or they brought it up, was met with this, yeah, but here's why it wouldn't work. Yeah, but here's why it wouldn't work. So desire is a little bit like brainstorming. When you do a brainstorming session, you are just brain dumping stuff. You are coming up with ideas and possibilities. You're not looking at the how or why that would be hard, and that's, I think, where the dreaming and the desire piece comes in. I think so much of the time, no, I know because I see this with clients. I see it sometimes in myself. It is so easy to be like, I want $1 million a year. Oh, I can't do that because. Oh, that'll never happen. Good grief, I didn't even make 40,000, 60,000, 100,000 this year. How am I going to make $1 million? That's ridiculous. Yeah, our little monkey mind, our little logical, but we don't know how that's going to happen. Oh my God, I want to go on the Oprah show. Oh, I don't know how that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Well, great. We discount and dismiss and sabotage and fill in the blank with all the other things we do that don't nurture and water and grow those dreams and desires.
Yep. And when
now,
we
if
don't,
I'm 85 and I decide I want to be an astronaut at 85, that, I don't know, maybe it won't happen, but who the fuck am I to say? I don't know. But shy of that, we put so many limitations on ourselves. Stop it.
Yeah, there was a man who learned how to read when he was 93 and wrote his first book at 95 or 98 or something like that.
That wasn't George
Which
Dawson,
makes me feel like an underachiever of epic proportions. I don't remember his name. I just remembered the story and was like, whoa.
George Dawson.
That's how my memory.
This may not be him, but the book is Life is So Good by George Dawson, and it's an amazing book. He was like 98.
Okay.
And again, could be a totally different person because there may be multiples. That's the one that I've read. Same thing. So inspiring. Julia Childs didn't start learning how to frickin' cook till she was, what, in her 40s? 50s. I think she was in her 40s. I mean, there's so many things that are still possible, even if you're my age. Oh, my God, I'm over half a century. Holy crap.
How to read when he was 98. It is George Dawson, and he learned how to read when he was 98.
I love that book.
And wrote his first book at 101.
Yeah. It is, you guys, it is I will gush about that book anytime. When people are like, what's a good book to read? It's like, here, go read this one. I'm looking for self-development books. Great, here's this one. Guess what that book isn't really? Is self-development. I don't care. It's self-development. Because it really, I'm sorry, if this guy who came up during the time he came up as a black man, all the experiences, all the life experiences, if he can decide at 98 to learn to frickin' read, wow. What's possible for you at 28, 38, 48?
Yeah.
His story's so inspiring. I heart him. So, what would happen if you took your foot off the brakes where desire is concerned? That almost feels a little overwhelming to me, so that will be something for me to explore. Whoa.
That feels juicy.
Mm-hmm.
That's got me curious about where my foot is on the brake where desire is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I had an interesting experience with this, and I hope it's related because it came up, so I'm going to share it. I was having a pre-onboarding conversation with a new client for VA work, and she asked me, how do you prefer to get paid? how do you prefer to schedule your time off? How do you, and I was just like, every time she asked me that question, my brain would short circuit. What do you mean preferences?
Mhm.
I get to have preferences?
Mhm.
And so that entire conversation was a deliberate act of me breathing, feeling into her question, and being brave enough to actually answer it, because my default answer is whatever works for you, which is dumb.
Mhm. Right?
So maybe if you can't quite get to desire, maybe look at preference. What's your preference? And maybe start with smaller things. I am a super submissive, very go with the flow kind of person. Apparently that's changing in light of what I just shared.
I was going to say, except where she's not. Because she's learning.
Oh, and gosh, when I'm not. Enjoy it when I am, because when I'm not. I'm very Sagittarius, Aries, Libra when I'm not, and you might want to duck. But my lovely, enjoyable other is like, so what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do. Where do you want to go on vacation? Unless we're going to go visit Naomi or visit Lisa, I'm not a tourist. I don't care. I just want to hang out with you, spend time with you. What do you want for dinner? And so I've started deliberately thinking about, what do I want for dinner? What would I like? Tell me, what do you like? Mouse, what are you in the mood for? So if you're wondering how you can turn up the dial on your desire, start small. Start with, what would I enjoy wearing this morning? When someone asks you, what do you want to do for dinner? Especially if you're, I don't know, you choose kind of person. Mm-hmm. Challenge yourself to start choosing.
I'm going to make my husband listen to this recording.
Is he an I don't know person when it comes to dinner?
Every single time I'll ask him, I'll ask him what's for dinner or what would he like for dinner. Well, what do you want? Are you fucking kidding me right now? So, yeah. I love it. Either that or take the pressure off you and your significant other and just come up with a freaking meal plan so that it doesn't so it's not a conversation ever again. So there's that.
Yes. This is usually a dinner out thing, though. It's like, where do you want to go? And I'm like,
yeah. I don't care.
So the last time he asked me, it was because the restaurant that we were planning to go to was closed. And I immediately was like, carne asada fries. And he was like, all right, yeah, we can do that. And that turned out to be in the neighborhood of, I was making essential oils delivery too. He's like, oh yeah, it's right by their house. We could swing by, get food, drop off oils, go on our way. Great time.
Live to see another day. Because if he had said, nah, I don't want that, that's when there would have been hell to pay.
It would have been fine. He would have chosen something else.
Yeah, we'd still be sitting in the car with me glaring at him. Don't ask me where I want to go, and then when I say no, that ain't going to work for this Leo. Then don't effing ask me in the first place.
We've had that too. That might be a different podcast. We've had that too.
I think that is probably. But you brought up with what you wear. I found myself, because of course, stretchy shorts and capri pants have been a thing for the last 4 months. Pajama bottoms, because Zoom only covers from about waist up, but every now and again, like today, I actually have a cute little summer skirt on and a tank top, and I've got jewelry on, and I have a pair of earrings that I usually only wear if I'm going to something fancy. Well, I pulled them out and wore them last week with a black tank top.
How was that?
So they at least matched, because not going to knock that. It was awesome, and I was like, I think this might become a thing for the rest of the time that, you know, things are still not quite open, and then I might just translate it to going forward. It's like the things where it's like, oh, that's kind of more of a dressy, fancy pair of earrings or jewelry or whatever. Fuck it, I think I'm going to just start wearing them now. All the time. Whenever I feel like it. It was pretty awesome.
I had that with something recently. I think it was like special occasion clothing as well.
What if today could be special occasion?
Exactly. What are you waiting for?
Well, and I look at some of that, and some of that is conditioning, because I look at my grandmother, and she was Depression era. So, you know, because I'm old, which makes her, well, she's crossed over now, but so that was a long time ago, right? My mother was born just after the Depression. And don't tell my mother I said that out loud. I'll get grounded. But my grandmother, it was they lived on a farm, and if there was a good special on something, or like she had bought some bed linens, but she put them away until they moved into town because they were too nice to use on the farm. So then when they moved into town, they did start using them. But that kind of thinking, well, that's only for a special occasion. It's, I can't, quote, indulge. If it's just an everyday thing, that has been passed out. I've seen it with my mom and my aunt. I've seen it with myself. And so a number of years ago when I moved, after I moved up to Seattle, I pretty much sold what didn't fit in my vehicle, except for my books. And then when I moved back to California, my roommate in Seattle had dishes, so I had sold mine before I moved up there. But when I moved back, that meant I didn't have dishes, except I had my set of china that was my grandmother's, my other grandmother. And I decided instead of buying everyday dishes, I wasn't going to just wait to use those for special occasions. They weren't only going to come out when I had Christmas dinner. And so I started using those. Those became my everyday dishes. Now, there were times when I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't break one. I would, be crushed. But what was beautiful about it is every time I used those dishes, which was every day because I ate food, every day, I thought of my grandmother. And it felt so special to be using those. It's like, why can't we have fancy earrings every day? Why can't we, fill in the blank? What are you saving it for? And I think sometimes our desires are a little bit like that. Well, I'll wait till it's the right occasion, or, well, no, go for those desires today. You don't, and then saying this as much for myself as anybody else, you don't have to, when I, yourself to death, well, when I get out of debt, I will look at that. When I'm making enough money, that I'll do that. When my kids are grown and out of the house, then I'll. How about today? How about today? What do you want to do with your desire today?
You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio, a network of shows offering healing and guidance for your beautiful journey. Tune in on Mondays for the Alchemy Sisters, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. Tuesdays, tune in and tune up. Body Awareness and Self-Care, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, All for One is Love, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, Unbound with Cynthia Martin, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Fridays, The Witching Hour with Green Witch Village and the Alchemy Sisters, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And on Fridays, Rain Radio, 10 Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Saturdays, Creating Heaven on Earth, 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And Sundays, Everyday Psychic Radio at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is the Heart Over Ego Radio Network.